So I asked them to put this in 36 font down there so I didn't have to wear my glasses. So I am so happy to get to know all of you and have gotten to work with so many great people. I've sincerely tried my very best to listen to everyone from all regions, states, and point of view so I can serve the districts. I have tried as hard as I possibly can to do my best job for all of you. I've given everyone my personal cell phone, made a point to answer and get back to any calls made with good or bad comments. And trust me, I get both. One thing that I've seen in the past that I thought was really cool was Coach Joe Tiller from Purdue football. When I was at Purdue, we had this quarterback named Drew Brees, and he was pretty good. And when he retired, and I think he moved to Colorado, but he made his cell phone public, which I thought was crazy. But in an interview that he did, he said he loved meeting the Purdue fans for lunch. So I don't know if that was just for a free lunch, but I thought that was really cool. So here is my personal cell phone and my personal email. Already got it. My wife might not like this, and she did not know I was going to do this, but if you are traveling through Washington, and not in duck season, because I'm too busy, but if you're through there any other time of year, call that number. We have RV spots. If you have a camper, we'll plug you right in. So I want to show you my ranch and the great work we're doing at the world's finest WRP site. And I'm noting the inherent bias of that thought. But we are working on wildlife management, habitat restoration, wetland management, moist soil management, irrigation efficiencies, rotating cattle, and more. I couldn't be any more proud of what we do. I love highlighting the work we are doing along with our partners in the NRCS and the success we're having in Eastern Washington. I have a lot of thank yous to say here tonight. There are so many of my dear friends and close partners, so forgive me if I don't mention your name directly. But I want to start off with Kim. It is great that Jeff is here. Jeff and Logan are here, and I know it means a lot to Kim that you're here. And Jeff, maybe you could travel more if you had a few less horses. You could work on that. I want to thank Ian. Thank you for the service. It has been a pleasure to get to know you, sir. Gary, stop shooting my decoys. He paid $5,000 for it. Yes, he did. I look forward to working with you in the future. Tim, it's been a pleasure, sir. I mean that. I've had a bond with Tim since I've met him, and it's been a pleasure working with him. He had a tough go when he was president. Most of you know that he had a kidney taken out. He threw a four-wheeler on top of his head, literally, and we about lost him. And everybody should thank Tim for what he did, and I appreciate that. I want to thank our CEO, Jeremy Peters. He's done a wonderful job bringing us to where, when I first got to NACD, we weren't as strong as we are now. And we didn't have the staff we have now. We couldn't do the service to NACD that we can do now. So I appreciate that. Our Chief Programs Officer, Jen Nelligan, and our Chief Operations Officer, Carla Maldonado Mitchell, and to all of our directors. And I don't have time to name them all, but Keith Owen, doing a wonderful job, and it was great to meet you and work with you. And Ariel Rivers, we spent 15 great days in the Pacific with J.B. Martin, Astor Boozer, Jen Elligan, and Michael Uggan, and others. It was wonderful. So thank you for that. I want to thank all the employees down to the people that started last Monday. How do you get a job and go to Mardi Gras 3 days later? That's what I want to know. It takes a strong team to pull this much work off, not just this meeting, but all year long. I want to thank them for that. Next, I want to thank NRCS and Chief Cosby. You know, I said it earlier, you're a friend of NACD, but you truly are a friend of mine. So, I don't know where Astor's at, but I want to thank him. I've been to 30, 50, 100 places with Astor, and it's been great to work with you. And generally, all of the state cons and partners of NACD, we all appreciate it, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of NACD. For all the state cons, as I said yesterday in the NLT, this is a historic moment. Utilize your local working groups, your districts, as well as all of your conservation partners. Districts, talk to your state cons and be a good partner to those. Be the boots on the ground right now at this historic moment for Farm Bill programs, Inflation Reduction Act, infrastructure, and climate-smart commodities. I want to thank the executive board, region chairs, and all of the board members, all the committees, special committees, RPGs. It is all a team. We can't do it without everyone. We have done so much work over the last 2 years to make our district stronger through advocacy, outreach, the grants. I also want to thank people like Bob Warner that not only give their time, but sponsorship dollars. Bob, thank you sincerely. Long-term sponsors like CASE, IH, and AgriDrain, and all. Everyone is part of the team. Next, I want to thank my Washington contingent. Four tables of us. So look around this room. This is pre-COVID numbers. We're finally back, and I appreciate that. Roylene, you are a dear friend of mine, and I appreciate it. My executive director, Tom Salzer, he asked me when he took the job if I would back him, and I said, yes, I will, always, and I will. My friend Wade, my Benton Conservation District folks, Kara and Heather, Washington managers like Mike Tobin and Craig Nelson and others, thank you all for coming. I do want to recognize just a few special guests. Former Acting Chief Kevin Norton. He has been a good friend and a great advisor since I've met him working in the House on the last Farm Bill. He was on detail to the House Ag Committee, and while he was chief, he was on my legislative committee, and he literally never missed a meeting, and if he couldn't attend in person, he was frantically texting me 3 minutes before the call. And I understand how busy you are, and I appreciate that. My friends from Guam, thank you so much for the summer, and I look forward to working with you. Travis Thomason, I don't know if you're out here, but we talked for 2 years about that trip before it happened, and then JB. It was great to work with you. Brad Bortner, former chief of migratory birds. I met Brad many years ago and was actually drinking at a table with him, shockingly. And I go, God, this guy knows what he's talking about. I had no idea who he was or who he worked for, but he ended up moving to D.C. and being the chief, which was a good thing for me because every time I went to D.C., I slept on his couch. But he did cost me 4 years of my life because while visiting D.C. once, he took me to Fredericksburg Battlefield, and it started a 4-year journey, and 150 battlefields later, I'm a history buff, and Gretchen's been drug along to lots of states. Ray McCormick and his wife Cheryl. And Nick Hofford, he is my assistant manager, and he came as an intern 6 years ago, and he's been with me ever since. And I would not be able to do the things I do at NACD without making sure the ranch is running when I'm home. He came to me as a kid, and now he's a great young man. And he makes fun of the interns now because they don't know what they're doing, and he was as bad or worse than any of these kids. But I feel like Nick didn't see what I saw in him, and he didn't understand why I kept calling him back every year and asking him to come back. So, Nick, thank you. My posse. Chris and Sue and Ben, I have thousands of friends. Here's 1,000 of my friends, but you guys are true friends and part of my family. They were in my wedding, they're here tonight, and I thank you. Gretchen, happy Valentine's Day. I can't be more happy than I am with you, and I do love you. Being on the West Coast, I have to hit the 5 a.m. United flight to get anywhere. And I couldn't even tell you how many times I've done that. She's dropped me off at the airport. We leave at 3:30 in the morning. She packs my suitcase. Thank you. Can you please give Gretchen a round of applause? It has been the honor of my lifetime to lead this organization, and I couldn't mean that more sincerely. And I almost begrudgingly want to start the movie because I turned control over pictures, so I don't know how this is going to end up, but if we could start the movie.